The Valdivia earthquake. Chile's 1960 Valdivia earthquake holds the rather dubious honor of being the most powerful earthquake ever recorded, clocking in at a magnitude 9.5 on the Richter scale. The tremor was so violent, it literally changed the rotation of the Earth, shortening our days by 1.26 microseconds, though admittedly, this probably didn't affect anyone's dinner plans. The earthquake triggered tsunamis that traveled across the Pacific at the speed of a jet airliner, arriving in Japan 15 hours later, still powerful enough to kill 140 people and destroy 1,600 homes. What makes this event particularly sobering is that it occurred in living memory, reminding us that the Earth's crust is about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. The quake killed approximately 1,656 people in Chile and caused damage as far away as the Philippines, proving that when Earth decides to have a tantrum, geography becomes remarkably irrelevant. The Thera eruption. Around 1600 BCE, the Greek island of Thera, now known as Santorini, quite literally blew its top in what ranks among the most powerful volcanic eruptions in recorded human history. The explosion was so colossal, it created a tsunami that may have reached heights of 100 feet, obliterating coastal settlements across the eastern Mediterranean faster than you could say, "There goes the neighborhood." The eruption ejected an estimated 24 cubic miles of rock and ash into the atmosphere, creating a nuclear winter effect that likely caused crop failures across the region for years. Some scholars believe this catastrophe provided the inspiration for Plato's tale of Atlantis, though whether a Bronze Age civilization really needed a philosophical allegory about hubris is debatable. What's certain is that the eruption wiped out the advanced Minoan civilization on nearby Crete, effectively ending what many consider Europe's first great culture. The event demonstrates how a single geological hiccup can rewrite the course of human history, leaving behind only archaeological mysteries and a rather spectacular tourist destination, where the crater rim now hosts overpriced restaurants with stunning sunset views. The Storegga Slide tsunami, around 8,200 years ago, off the coast of Norway, a chunk of the continental shelf decided to take an unscheduled trip to the bottom of the ocean, triggering what geologists call the Storegga Slide. This wasn't your garden variety underwater landslide. We're talking about a mass of sediment roughly the size of Iceland sliding into the depths of the Norwegian Sea with all the grace of a drunken elephant. The resulting tsunami was the aquatic equivalent of a temper tantrum, sending waves up to 65 feet high racing across the North Sea at speeds that would make a Formula One driver weep with envy. These waves transformed the geography of Northern Europe, turning what is now the English Channel into a proper channel by finally severing Britain's last land connection to continental Europe. The Storegga tsunami essentially completed Britain's transformation into an island nation, though the inhabitants at the time were probably too busy trying not to drown to appreciate the historical significance. Evidence of this prehistoric disaster can still be found today in the form of sand deposits scattered across Scotland and Norway, silent testimonies to a day when the ocean decided to rearrange the map of Europe. The Zanclean megaflood. 5.5 million years ago, the Mediterranean Sea was having something of an identity crisis. What we now know as the cradle of civilization was actually a series of hypersaline lakes sitting nearly 2 miles below current sea level, baking under the sun like a cosmic salt flat. Then, in what geologists call the Zanclean flood, the Atlantic Ocean decided to pay a visit. A catastrophic breach in the Gibraltar Strait allowed Atlantic waters to pour into the Mediterranean basin with the enthusiasm of a burst dam, but on a scale that makes modern engineering disasters look like spilled coffee. The flood was so massive it may have filled the entire Mediterranean in anywhere from a few months to a few thousand years, which in geological terms is roughly equivalent to an instant. Picture Niagara Falls, then multiply its power by 1,000, and you're getting close to understanding the sheer volume of water involved. This event created the Mediterranean Sea as we know it today, transforming a scorching salt desert into the body of water that would later host the rise of Egyptian, Greek, and Roman civilizations. It's a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful places on Earth exist only because of truly spectacular catastrophes that occurred long before humans were around to appreciate the view. The Toba supereruption. Roughly 74,000 years ago, Lake Toba in Indonesia experienced what can only be described as the mother of all volcanic eruptions. This wasn't just any ordinary volcanic tantrum. Toba was a supervolcano that ejected an estimated 670 cubic miles of material into the atmosphere, making Mount Vesuvius look like a gentle sneeze by comparison. The eruption was so powerful it triggered a volcanic winter that lasted for years, dropping global temperatures by as much as 10 degrees Celsius and transforming the planet into something resembling a nuclear winter scenario. Archaeological evidence suggests that this eruption may have reduced the entire human population to somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 individuals, creating a genetic bottleneck that every person alive today can trace back to. In other words, we're all descendants of the few thousand humans who were hardy enough to survive what amounts to Earth's attempt at a factory reset. The eruption left behind a caldera so large it's now filled by Indonesia's largest lake, creating a tourist destination where visitors can literally swim in the crater of humanity's closest brush with extinction. It's a sobering reminder that our species' survival has always been more precarious than we'd like to admit. The Siberian Traps eruptions. About 252 million years ago, Siberia decided to demonstrate that when it comes to volcanic activity, bigger is definitely not better. The Siberian Traps eruptions represent one of the largest volcanic events in Earth's history, spewing out enough lava to cover an area roughly the size of the continental United States under a layer of basalt up to 2 miles thick. These weren't quick, explosive eruptions, but rather prolonged outpourings of lava that continued for nearly 2 million years, pumping massive quantities of greenhouse gases and toxic compounds into the atmosphere. The result was the Permian Triassic extinction event, also known as the Great Dying, which eliminated roughly 96% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates. This makes it the closest life on Earth has ever come to a complete do-over, reducing the planet's biodiversity to levels that took millions of years to recover. The eruptions effectively rewrote the rules of evolution, clearing the stage for the rise of dinosaurs and fundamentally altering the trajectory of life on Earth. It's a stark reminder that volcanic activity, given enough time and scale, can literally reshape the biological destiny of an entire planet. The Late Heavy Bombardment. Between 4.1 and 3.8 billion years ago, Earth experienced what can only be described as the solar system's most violent temper tantrum. The Late Heavy Bombardment was a period when asteroids and comets rained down on the inner planets with the frequency of a cosmic hailstorm, turning Earth's surface into something resembling a war zone designed by a particularly vindictive deity. During this period, impacts occurred so frequently that the planet's surface was repeatedly sterilized, with any early attempts at life having to start over from scratch after each major collision. The bombardment was so intense that it literally reshaped the face of the moon, creating the large craters we can still see today, while Earth's more active geology has since erased most evidence of this cosmic assault. Some scientists believe that this period of bombardment may have actually been essential for life's eventual emergence, as comets and asteroids delivered water and organic compounds that became the building blocks of biology. The Late Heavy Bombardment represents Earth's most chaotic chapter, a time when our planet was essentially a target in a cosmic shooting gallery, demonstrating that sometimes the most destructive periods in a planet's history can set the stage for its greatest achievements. The Chicxulub Impactor. 66 million years ago, Earth received an unscheduled visitor from space that redefined the concept of a bad day. The Chicxulub Impactor, an asteroid or comet roughly 6 miles in diameter, slammed into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula with the force of several billion nuclear weapons. The impact created a crater 150 miles wide and triggered a global catastrophe that makes every disaster movie look like a nature documentary. The collision vaporized the impactor and a significant portion of Earth's crust, hurling debris into the atmosphere that rained down as molten glass across the planet. The impact triggered massive tsunamis, global wildfires, and a nuclear winter that lasted for years, effectively ending the age of dinosaurs and clearing the evolutionary stage for mammals. Ironically, this cosmic catastrophe may have been the best thing that ever happened to our mammalian ancestors, who suddenly found themselves inheriting a planet no longer dominated by 40-ton predators with dental problems. The event demonstrates that sometimes the most profound changes in Earth's history come not from gradual processes, but from single catastrophic moments that reset the entire biological clock.